You're listening to BizBuzz on Marlow FM 97.5.
And a very good afternoon and welcome to the BizBuzz programme. Coming to you this afternoon from Starbucks in the High Street here in Marlow. On the programme this afternoon, we'll have the Magnificent Seven around this table, sharing what we love about Marlow, this wonderful town of ours. And Jessica Williamson, an award-winning designer, will be telling us how she got into the design world and how she won her award. Tony Thornby, who runs a local marketing company, a digital marketing company, will be sharing with us also about his company and also a local business network, how they're working in the Marlow Chamber of Commerce. And in addition, we have Philippa, CEO of Bucks Business First, who will be talking about how we can boost tourism revenues into the town. And joining me again this afternoon are my wonderful co-presenters, Wisdom the Costa and Malcolm Parr. Good afternoon, gentlemen. And so here we are in this, so I'll say that again, go on, I'll put up your microphones this time.
I was daydreaming there, looking out over the beautiful sunny vista here on Marlow High Street.
Yes, and our local constabularies just walked past, just checking us out.
Nothing to do with me.
We're not on the pavements, are we?
Malcolm's disappeared. Malcolm?
Why has Malcolm got under the table?
I don't know.
I'm buying the coffee.
He's just going to buy the coffee. Yeah, so what's been happening in your world in this last week? Wisdom?
Very busy catching up with lots and lots of tax things post-election. And obviously scouring the news schedules to see what's interesting and what's happening in the world of tax and business, to let people and our listeners know what's going on.
And you're going to be talking to us about revealing actually how George Osborne is actually going to produce this money, is that correct?
Well, yes, he needs how much? 8 billion just for the NHS, and he wants to now also actually commit every parliament in the future to operating a surplus. Well, okay, that's interesting. How are you going to do that, George? So yes, where's he going to get the tax money from to pay for services? Yes, tax pays for services, my favourite phrase of the year, unlike yours, Brexit. But yeah, where's George going to get the money from?
We don't know, but we're hoping that you're going to reveal some of those answers to us later on. And Malcolm, you've been sailing today again?
It was too windy. The wind went up to about 30 knots. If I'm going to be technical, north by northeast, which is not good for disabled sailors. Or some of them actually could do much better than I can, but we thought, no, we'll just do some inside lessons, and I learnt a few knots and things like that.
Well, I see that our first guest, Jessica, has arrived. We'll be talking to her shortly. And in the meantime, as we are in Starbucks, let's begin with some hot chocolate from you, sexy thing. And if you've just joined us, welcome to the BizBuzz that's coming from Starbucks in the High Street here in Marlow. It's a beautiful, beautiful sunny day outside. The French doors are open. We're almost out onto the pavement. And I'm delighted that we've just been joined by the wonderful, beautiful Jessica. Jessica, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
And welcome to Marlow FM in the High Street.
Wow. I haven't seen it like in Starbucks. Pretty amazing. So.
Isn't it great?
Yeah, it's fantastic.
You know, that's the one of the things I was going to love about Marlow is the flexibility. Here we are. Move the studio right out into the centre of town, right into the community, and with people passing by and you just dropping in to say hello.
Yeah, hello.
And Malcolm is going to just have a chat with you and tell us, we've got another guest who's joining us. That's great. Excellent.
Poor girl.
Is that our mystery guest?
That's our mystery guest,
Okay.
yeah, absolutely.
One of the young entrepreneurs.
Absolutely. Talking about entrepreneurs, there's an award which, if you're in design, you'd know all about. It's called You Can Now Awards. I love the title. It's a really out and get them sort of thing. And Jessica who is a student, design student at the Amersham and Wickham College, has actually won one of 3 top awards of this international competition, which is fantastic because it's a difficult subject. And Jessica, in fact, is actually playing the piano at the regatta at the weekend.
Wow.
So you can actually meet her on Sunday evening.
Multi-talented.
Most talented.
Yeah.
I wish I had one of those talents.
Part of a group or just on your own?
Yeah, I'm just on my own. Yeah.
Wow. And what kind of music are you going to play?
Oh goodness, it doesn't really have a genre, or I can't even find a genre, but it's more, I would call it at the moment experimental, a bit of ambient pop and ethereal. I think ethereal pretty much plus the whole thing.
Do you know what time you're on it?
I think I'm on at 12:15, I think.
That's the regatta, and here
so
in
on for
Marlow.
25 minutes.
Yeah, this
so.
coming Saturday and Sunday.
Yes.
Yeah, excellent.
Okay, well done. This particular award, I'm very keen on this because my daughter is in design, and she had quite a challenge finding a job in the career. So I have a vested interest in sort of getting an idea on how young people get into design. But I know this particular competition was a spotlight on emerging creative talent, and you came up with a concept for the redesign of a range of products for a certain beauty company. How did you go about it, Jessica? What sort of gave you the idea? Did you have much help from the college?
Well, yeah, I mean, like, studying at Anderson Working College for like 4 years, studying graphic design, they definitely taught me tools and the process of how to come up with the final product. So you have to do a bunch of research, you know, make some mood boards, that sort of thing, and all of that has really helped to get to what final product I want, basically. So.
Was there a particular moment when you kind of realised that's what I want to do? Something that came through for you?
Sorry, what do you mean, sorry?
So an idea, when you were doing your research and you started to do the mood boards, was there a particular time when you saw that's something that I want to do, that's exactly what I want to do?
Yeah, I have to like make sure, you know, it meets what the brief wants. If you don't know what brief means, it means like they tell you, oh, I want this for my design, and you have to follow those, I guess, rules, and I guess you have to mark up like, okay, is it contemporary, is it eye-catching, you know, does it give people's attention, that sort of thing. You have to like meet what you know people want. So in order to like what's the word to get like what I'm, you know, when I'm happy with it at the end product, is to say, oh, I really like this, and you know, it doesn't meet everything, and yeah. Sort of explain.
So was the brief from the competition organisers?
Yes,
or did you also have to get a brief from the hair product company?
Yeah, well, it is from like the YCN, so...
Right. And that was a good brief, or did you interpret that in the way you thought?
Well, we did have like, you know, a choice of like briefs I want, and I just picked up the one that I think I'm the most comfortable and what probably suits me or what I want to design, I guess. Yeah.
So, anyone else in your college got any awards this year?
Not that I can think of, no.
Yeah, right. So where do you go from here, Jessica?
What, like in education or something?
Yeah.
Well, this September I'm doing a music technology course, but like I can do a graphic design job afterwards, like because I'm also a part-time musician, I make album covers, that sort of thing. So bringing those skills together, like being a musician and a graphic designer, I can make album covers, people, that sort of thing. So probably look into that in the future, maybe.
Well, I'm trying to write a book. You can do my cover if you like. It'll be a great price.
And what is the methods you use? Is it what's the technology that you use? Is it multimedia?
We use Adobe software, like Adobe Photoshop, Adobe Illustrator, and Adobe InDesign. Those are like the three main software to use to make the graphic design.
Yeah.
And they've been brilliant to get to what I want to achieve to make these final products. Yeah.
So there's a contrast between what you're able to do now and what people would have been using, say, 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah, like, you know, the software's definitely improved. Yeah, definitely gets to what you want.
And I mean, it seems to me we've got a young politician coming in, this 20-year-old politician now in the recent elections. Here you are, 20-year-old. Is it the age of the young?
No, I don't know, to be honest.
So I was just going to ask Jessica, because I was looking at my colleague's computer over his shoulder there, and I saw you on YouTube last year at the Marlow Regatta.
Oh, yes.
So hopefully YouTube again this time. And it, yes, there we are, where we go. Is there any particular tune you'd like us to play later on, if we can slip it in?
Particular tune of one of my songs?
Yeah, well, it's one that we could get from our computer record. So.
Yeah, like I'm available on SoundCloud. If you put in my name, Jessica Williamson, I'm on SoundCloud, and there's a couple of songs I'm going to play there live at the regatta.
Right.
Like there's a song called Resurgence, which you can find on SoundCloud, and definitely go play that.
We'll look for that right now. Yeah. Unfortunately, we don't have a piano here, do we? Do we?
Well, I'm looking around. We don't have a piano, and I'm not sure that we
hum.
I'm not sure that we would have the song that you...
No, I won't be able to perform, but it's available on SoundCloud, which you can play by audio.
Oh, what I'm going to play for you, as a special request from me to you, is Ava Cassidy and Fields of Gold. The beautiful Ava Cassidy's Fields of Gold. And if you're just joining us, welcome. You're joining us in Starbucks in the High Street here in Marlow. We're doing an outside broadcast. But this week, with the I Love Marlow program that's going on in the town over the next 7 days. And we've been joined in the studio here in the Starbucks with Jessica Williams. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. It's been a real pleasure. And just to tell us, when will you be getting your award presented to you?
I'll probably receive it around about September, 2nd September.
So is that a big long dress due in black tie due in London somewhere?
Yeah, somewhere in London. I actually haven't got the full details yet, but it'll come up.
I think it's incredible because I know that the design industry, I was speaking with a friend of mine, Nick, this morning, and he was saying that, the design industry is not an easy industry to get into. And so it's great that you've been able to get this achievement at such a young age, and thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
And just going to pass over to Wisdom, because you have something, Wisdom, about young entrepreneurs that you wanted to share with us.
Yes, absolutely. And there's a report recently commissioned by Scottish Friendly which talks about young entrepreneurs. So people who are under the age of 18 and bring in around £12 million every month through a variety of different ways. Obviously, some of them are very low-tech, so they'll be very engaging and show a lot of initiative and go out and clean people's cars and paper rounds, those sorts of things. But they also go all the way across the spectrum. And, of course, Jessica, you actually do some design yourself and you do some music, and maybe someday you'll earn huge amounts of money, like YouTube videos. So they go across the scale, even across to this young man. Here's a guy called Ben Towers. Now, Ben Towers is only 16 and is running now his own design digital agency, employing about 30 or 40 people. So if I tell you a little bit more about Ben, let's have a quick look. So Ben is one of the UK's most successful young entrepreneurs, according to himself, by the way. At the age of 16, he already heads up his own digital media agency with over 15 professionals working for him. And whilst his peers are looking forward to starting high school, Ben, when he was just aged 11, started Tower Design and quickly showed an innate ability both on the computer and as an entrepreneur. So Ben Towers is one young man, and there's another guy called Mr. Froelich, young lad called, here we go, Harry Froelich. And his genre is really speaking to his own kids, his own age, and blogging, and then creating a media brand, if you like, where he will use his own type of sort of apparel and use his image and his style to sell that, and that's selling and earning a lot of money.
So he would take... Jessica, you were going to say something? Sorry, I thought you were. Yeah, I would imagine that they would take products that other people have created, brand them, and then put them on his website with his blogs. He's not actually creating anything himself other than writing the blog and creating
that's not necessarily so, because, for example, take my young son, for an example, and he's inspired by other young entrepreneurs, and he's 21. But what they do is that they create their own designs. And yes, you're right, you can't necessarily get someone to go out and mass produce a T-shirt in a specific design, but what you can do is take apparel already produced, as you rightly say, and then stamp different images or different designs on that, which make it more unique. And so that's one way. Another way, as you talked about, is blogging. And some of these guys have got thousands and thousands of people reading their blogs every day, and then they sell on ad space to big agencies. It could be through affiliate marketing, and so earn money that way as well. And there's YouTube. Do you know, Jessica, how many views your videos need to get before they start paying you money?
Gosh. It's so different compared to YouTube back in 2006 or something, so it quite varies. I haven't been, a true YouTuber for quite a long time, actually, so I don't actually particularly know, because YouTube has progressed over the years.
Yeah.
So I actually don't know to this day, to be honest.
I'm amazed by that comment, because oh wow, you're a YouTube veteran. You've been with YouTube for years. I've only just discovered it at the age of 52. I've just discovered YouTube, whereas you've been there for years.
What you're saying, Wisdom, is that when you put up something on YouTube, it needs to get a certain number of hits before YouTube, as a company, as an organisation, start to pay interest to you or take interest in you in order to start making money through you.
You may have seen many of the YouTube videos. When you go on, you've got this 3-second or 10-second ad, which you can skip after 3 seconds. Well, the advertisers are clearly paying for that time, that airtime, and paying per click every time somebody goes onto that video. And obviously YouTube isn't going to make that available, that function, to every video, but it is going to make it available to people who are producing videos who get viewed in the thousands or hundreds of thousands regularly. And that becomes an income stream for the individual.
It's a kind of a whole new world out there, isn't it? Where you've got people on the high street who are paying rents and rates and council tax and all the rest of it. And you have someone who's perhaps in their office or their bedroom at home making millions of pounds by using this new technology. Quite incredible. Yeah. Okay, so Wisdom, you had a request. We're going to play The Greatest Love of All from Whitney Houston.
It's for all the young entrepreneurs out there.
The wonderful Whitney Houston with The Greatest Love of All, and the final line was "Find your strength in love." I love that. Very strong. Wisdom, tell me, you've got some answers to the question, where is George Osborne going to get the money from?
Before I ask that question, or answer part of that question, I'm going to have to...
That's it. Are you a politician?
Couldn't possibly comment.
Answer the question.
Or you at home.
So here's my question for you, for everybody here, and also for the listeners. Okay, Who should be taxed? Okay, so that's my question to you. Who should bear the burden of tax? Great, that's a question.
Okay.
Think about it. Come back to me when you've got an answer. Controversial or
is this
very
a competition?
Simple. But, it is. I'm trying to be Dermot here today in preparation for the next show when you won't be here. So back to the answer.
Question. Answer the question. I'm Jeremy Paxman now. Answer the question I've just asked you. And I don't want to hit any sound bites. I want to get the answers.
You are
here.
scaring me with that look.
This is my.
All right. So, George Osborne. Well, we know that tax pays for services, right?
Yeah.
We understand that. And so
Somebody's
the question is, we've got ever-increasing base, NHS, and other services which need to be paid for, and we have a financial shortfall. So where is George going to get the money from? Now, is he going to get it from the banks? Popular target. Tax avoiders, very, very popular target. The corporates or big businesses like Starbucks. The football world, because the football world seems to be increasing in prosperity, apparently. Stealth taxes, hidden taxes that you and I don't recognise but still get hit by. You and I, maybe. Could he even be looking to get money back from Her Majesty?
Her Majesty. Pay taxes.
So, the answers then. Let's go through some of the answers.
Where are you leading us with this? I hope you're going to be careful now.
Well, we did see the police just walk by a couple of minutes ago.
I wonder why.
Well, George Osborne and the government talked about the triple lock on tax. They're trying to reassure the electorate that there'll be no further tax increases on income tax, VAT or national insurance. But he didn't talk about the hundreds of other types of taxes, of course, which he will have to try and increase to raise more money to pay for services. So the banks. Well, the banks at the moment pay less tax since then before the crisis began. Is he going to go and try and get more money from the banks? Well, apparently not. So he's been saying over the last couple of weeks, and it's in drip feeding, that he thinks that the banks have reached their ceiling. We shouldn't really be getting or hitting these guys anymore. They're paying enough.
Oh, bless them.
So you may or may not agree with that. Sorry, disagree with that. It's a bit of a Freudian slip there, wasn't it? So what about tax avoidance schemes? We've heard so much about certain wealthy individuals and celebrities. Not you, the dear, darling Charlotte Church, because I'll come on to her later on, and it's an amazing thing that she's come across and said.
You're talking about Her Majesty and Charlotte Church?
Are they
You're
both...
treading a dangerous line here. National treasures.
Two national treasures. Very, very venerable institutions in their own.
But
right?
are you going to answer my question eventually?
I am. Mumbling away there, just trying to say no. So tax avoiders. What about tax avoiders? Well, according to the Financial Times, they say to all tax avoiders, quick, get out of your schemes now before the government does get to you. So possibly tax avoiders. And what about corporates? Do you know that Starbucks should I be mentioning Starbucks?
Let's leave Starbucks for the moment.
Mr. Schultz, you got away lightly that time.
We are guests in the house
and
at the moment.
corporation tax. So possibly corporation tax might increase, not because George Osborne wants it to, but because of an EU legislation may force tax rates to be equalised across the EU. And the UK's tax rate is actually the lowest. So for it to be equalised with other countries across the EU means that corporation tax could go up. And of course, George could then say, well, it wasn't my fault. It was those guys in Brussels. Now, I told you so.
It was them what did it.
Absolutely. What about the football world? The Football League revenue, Premier League revenues are now going to be soaring to £1.4 billion. Could he be getting more tax revenues from the football world?
Oh, you're digging deeper and deeper in here.
I'm trying to raise the spectre.
I'm so enthralled.
The issues, not the spectre. I must choose the right expression. Well, he's got to raise the money. He's got to come from somewhere. So here's what he's saying he might do.
Stay with us, listener. He's coming to it.
You're mocking me. as Buzz Lightyear once said. So, fuel duty. Apparently the 38 pence fuel duty value, which was on every litre of fuel, may increase. So that his commitment was not apparently to saying we'll keep the amount, the actual per pence, the same, but the rate the same. So perhaps we might raise another £4 billion a year from increasing the cost of fuel. What else? What about you and I? Salary sacrifice is something that he may task. So for many people, and that includes people in the NHS. For example, my wife pays for the privilege of parking in the hospital.
Yes.
Exactly. So she has to pay for parking, and that's done through a salary sacrifice scheme. But those may be attacked in future so that there's no tax advantage. So you have a double whammy. So effectively, you and I, employees, will have to pay tax on our salary sacrifice scheme. Well, that's okay. It could raise another £5 billion a year from us.
Okay.
And the personal tax allowances, they are increasing at long last, because there's always been a lot of smoke and mirrors about personal tax allowances. Because if they don't increase with the rate of inflation or with wage inflation, then effectively, in real terms, the value is decreasing to you and I. Because as wage increases, more people get caught by the 60% tax band. Did you know there was a 60% tax band?
I'm on it.
Okay. Come and talk to me later, Dermot.
There's a high one, actually.
Private consultation.
Isn't there an easy way of getting £7 billion? There's a lot of controversy this morning.
That's just for the NHS?
Not just for the NHS, whatever. This morning there's a lot of discussion in Parliament and elsewhere about the sale of RBS shares and other shares, which at the moment are about mid 300 pence, 350 pence, like that,
for RBS.
Compared with about 500 pence or so that the government paid for them a few years back. And people are saying, hang on, you're selling our national treasures and so on, as we were talking earlier. But really, if we sold those shares now and the Lloyds and so on, we'd get £7 billion, which after all is almost 1/6 of the price of NS2, the train to Birmingham.
But the question then is, as with Vince Cable had to face with Royal Mail, are we selling these at an undervalue so that basically who's going to get it? Well, my chums over in the city are going to get the value as the share price increases. So,
What would you do if you were George?
If I was George? Good question. Well, I say what I would do. I'd get rid of national insurance straight away. Simplify the taxation system. You didn't know I had an answer, did you?
I'm shaken.
And the problem for me is that if I do sell my shares, and then I'm going to move into the 70% bracket. So,
gosh. Dermot, come and talk to me after the show. So who else Who else is George going to be attacking? Well, we're now going after the hobby market. So
let's go after them.
Down
people with hobbies.
So do you sell stuff on eBay? Well, watch out. George could be looking over your shoulder very shortly to see what you are selling and how much money you're making and try and tax you. On eBay, Amazon, and there's a whole range of different platforms where you and I can sell stuff. And the Queen, Her Majesty, may not escape the long arm of Mr. Osborne.
One has to pay tax, one does.
Well, I think she does a phenomenal job for this country. I'm a big fan of Her Majesty. Absolutely. You can't disagree now on live air, can you? So apparently the amount of money that she's getting has been increasing over the last few years. So the government may look to try and cut that back. She gets a certain amount of money from the Crown Estate, and the amount of money she gets from that may also be trimmed back a little bit. So here are a number of ways in which George could and might seek to get money back from you and I, fundamentally, without breaching his triple tax lock pledge.
We're saved, we're all saved. Well, thank you for that. Thank you for that wisdom.
Whistle-stop tour. Every one of those was quite complicated.
Everyone is included.
What was the question?
Everybody's included because we're all working together. So it's time for a piece of music because we've just been joined in the studio by Philippa Batting, who's the CEO of Bucks Business First. He's going to be talking to us about how we can boost the revenues of the town by bringing some more wonderful tourists into our area. But first, let's listen to Annie Lennox with Why. Why by Annie Lennox. You're joining us here on Marlow FM 97.5. This is the BizBuzz program. Dermot Fitzpatrick with Wisdom de Costa and Malcolm Parr. And our guest, Philippa Batting, CEO of the Bucks Business First, who's going to be talking to us about how we can boost business in the Marlow High Street in Marlow with bringing more tourists into the area. And Malcolm is going to have a chat with Philippa.
Yeah, tourism is a big thing. I know that Philippa lives in a rather beautiful part of the Chilterns and is passionate about the Chilterns. But we're well into Marlow Week, Love Marlow and the regatta and everything else. And our emphasis today is probably on businesses that make a profit from tourists. Our county, Buckinghamshire, earns a fraction of the money of, say, the Cotswolds or Cumbria. Yet we have hills, river walks, ancient monuments, historic parks, all the ingredients. But people, in the words of ABBA, give me a tourist after midnight, because revenue from tourism increases by tenfold if they stay the night. One quick fact. The average spend across 10.1 million day visits to our county is £25.80, compared, I don't know who worked that out, compared to the £214 in Cumbria. So, someone who's very passionate about the country as much as I am, Philippa, what do you think is wrong with our strategy, or do we have a strategy, do you think?
Well, the county as a whole lacks anybody managing the destination to build it up to be a place where people want to come. So currently, you've got Marlow, real attraction, but are we all working together to encourage people to stay longer? So rather than individual businesses thinking about how they get their tourist to their doorstep, how about we all work together and see whether we could collectively get this tourist to come to this doorstep and then other people's doorsteps as well. So tourism businesses working together to build a programme that would bring a tourist for a little bit longer. Mm-hmm. So it's not just about visiting one attraction, it's about all those attractions working together to bring something exciting.
So how do we do that? We've got, for example, the Chiltern Society we were just talking about earlier, celebrating their 50th anniversary. When they started, just a handful of journalists got together. They were planning the M4 motorway, M40, I beg your pardon, right across one of the most beautiful spots. And here they are 50 years later, 7,000 members and lots of volunteers on top of that. How do we get all these diverse groups together to work on this?
Yeah, it's getting all of the groups to work collectively. So you're right, we've got the Chiltern group. We've also got something called the Buckinghamshire Thames Valley LEP, which has quoted that tourism is one of the sectors it wants to support. You've got Buckinghamshire Business First. We've currently got about 7,000 businesses that we support. A huge percentage of them are tourism businesses. And collectively, we need to get together around the table and what it is, what are we doing and what could we do better as a group, sharing our resources to get a better result for all of us.
That's great. How would you do that?
Well, it is about having who's the go-to person for tourism in Buckinghamshire? Who do I go to if I want to plan a museum tour? Or the reality is we do not have anybody in this county that is the go-to person for tourism.
So what can we do?
Well, in other areas, what do? They're public, they're local authorities support tourism. The bigger businesses within the visitor economy support smaller businesses, and we are gently taking the first steps towards that.
That's good.
So Buckinghamshire Business First last year commissioned a report from a company called Blue Sail to look into the potential for tourism in the county.
And what was their top recommendation?
Top insight, but it was there for anybody to see anyway. The visitor economy is capable of growing and predicted to grow about 5% over the next 4 or 5 years. In Buckinghamshire, that would mean that we would get jobs growth of about 2,000 additional jobs.
There's a lot of jobs in tourism.
A lot of jobs.
Philippa, can I ask a question? The Old English Tourist Board, is that now called Visit England?
Yes.
Do they not have a role to organise this constructively and coherently across the country?
They, like lots of other publicly funded organisations, have had their funding cut again. And I personally feel it's time for us as a business community to step up into the void where the state is not going to keep funding everything. If we want to do this, we need to get round the table as businesses and collectively work with our local authorities to get it done.
If I can ask another question, I come from Windsor, so one of the things that's quite apparent from people, tourists in Windsor, is that nowadays what they're doing is they're not lingering in the town and spending money, but rather especially if they're coming from far afield, Asia, where many of the tourists do come from. What they're doing is they're going on a coach trip, and they're going on the coach trip which hits 4 places in one day, including Windsor and Stonehenge. So you're saying that we need to disrupt this developing sort of trend and somehow find a way of saying, no, stay here for longer.
Well,
here's the wonderful cottage. I'm sure that many of the cottages or areas in here have been involved in films.
Yes, they have. This is the most filmed county in the country. So, why wouldn't you come and have a look at the Whomping Willow or the woodlands where Maleficent was filmed or whatever. So, a beautiful destination. And no, I don't want to disrupt. I don't think we should disrupt the trend of coach trips or excursions. I think we should focus on it and realise that the more we help tourists to plan what they're going to do when they get here, the more likely we are to encourage them into an overnight stay.
I think it's a question of the difference between coach tours coming in to see a particular historical site of interest and also as a destination, so that people would come for the weekend and perhaps stay in bed and breakfast or in hotels or guest houses. And also being able to spend money within the local economy rather than having bus tours coming in and out of the town.
I suppose what I'm saying is that for some reason this demand to do a coach tour rather than stay in a town, visit the town, look at the wonderful restaurants and visit them and then stay overnight in some of the incredible hotels. There seems to be this trend from somewhere, I don't know where it's coming from, to say, well, let's get them in, get them out quickly and we'll...
But there's 2 different markets, and it could be also for people in England. So the local market of people coming in who haven't been to this, because Marlow is very well known. When I'm meeting people and they say where you come from, almost everybody that I meet knows Marlow, knows somebody here, has been here, or knows the Complete Angler or something about it, been to a wedding at the Complete Angler or something like that.
Yeah. And you've got your regatta, you've got the water, you've got the...
Yes.
Yeah.
Is there not a conflict, Philippa, between people want the money but they don't want the visitors? So you stay at home and send your checks, because there would be an issue about traffic or parking or something like that with more people coming through. It has to be a real thought out thing, doesn't it?
But as one of the visitor economy, to grow our visitor economy, most of our hotels are built, most of our attractions are here. There is capacity in them. We just need to bring the tourists to fill it. So the reality is it's not going to need an awful lot of capital investment to release the potential. But what we do need to do is get better at why would somebody in Australia come and visit Marlow or visit Buckinghamshire? Now we've done a little bit of work on this, and we've got a website called Visit Buckinghamshire. One of the most frequently asked questions is, what's going on in Buckinghamshire? So that website gets 23,000 visits a month from tourists, from consumers, both UK and global.
And what are they looking for?
So things to do in Buckinghamshire. So if I'm a tourism attraction in Marlow, get yourself on to Visit Buckinghamshire, because it doesn't cost you anything to get onto the website, but immediately there's 23,000 visitors going to see what you're offering.
So what is the USP of Marlow, apart from we'll talk about loving Marlow, but from a visitor point of view, I mean, we know that go to London, you've got the Tower, you've got the House of Parliament, you go to Windsor, you've got the Castle. But what would be the USP of Marlow?
Well, what I would suggest is that we need to get round a table and thrash out what is the USP, and we need to keep repeating it over and over clearly without distortion, so that we have one message going out there to the tourists. Why would you come to Marlow? And so they get that repetitive well, is it the water? Is it its proximity to London? Is it that you can be here within half an hour? Is it that this will provide the countryside compared to the look in London?
Mm-hmm. So, question, who is we? Who are the people that you say should be getting together to join you and form a grouping that will actually address these issues?
The business community, so the businesses working within the visitor economy, so attractions, accommodation providers, businesses on the high street. If we get more tourists coming in, then these high streets will do better.
Well, we're going to have Tony Thornby coming in, who's going to be talking, who's representing the Marlow Chamber of Commerce. So it would be great, interesting to have a conversation with him and just get a perspective on what he feels that the business people in Marlow would like to have more tourists. I'm sure the Burgers would like to have more tourists, and the pubs would like to have more tourists. So they're obviously, you're very passionate about this, I can see, and it's really a question of saying, who else in the town is really interested in supporting this idea. Time for some more music before we go to the news, and you've asked for Money, Money, Money Makes the World Go Round, and it does indeed. Let's have some Money Makes the World Go Round. Well, it's an Englishman in New York by Sting, so obviously an Englishman going over to New York, and hopefully we're going to be bringing, with Philippa's help, we're going to be bringing a lot more tourists into to Marlow. And I think it's important from that conversation we were having earlier to identify the kind of tourists that we actually want. So rather than it being shotgun and saying we want to have tourists, bring them on, and have buses and people coming in and out, just using Marlow as 20 minutes in the centre of Marlow and then moving on to the Windsor Castle. So it's actually people that we want to have here who can enjoy the leisure, the slow pace, they enjoy the river, the sunshine, the restaurants and the bars. Philippa, would you say?
I definitely agree. In marketing Marlow, if you were a business, you would think about who is your customer, who's your audience, is it what age group does Marlow appeal to, and then you would go all out to appeal to that demographic, and you would build your offer. What is your offer? Is it your historical landscape? Is it your beautiful scenery? You'd think about what it is, and then you'd be very focused on your message.
Yeah, because it's a quality. When you go to the Cotswolds as well, it's a slower pace. You're not actually rushing around the place. You're going for a pub lounge, and you're going for a stroll into the antique shops. It's a slowing down, isn't it, Malcolm?
It is very much. I mean, my favourite little tour of the Chilterns, I'm not going to tell you where that is, but it passes 3 pubs in 1 hour of walking. But that's not top of the list. Clevedon House is the most visited, with 420,000 visitors, while Hughenden Manor, Waddesdon Manor and Stowe Landscape Gardens draw impressive crowds, apparently. Are you going to tell us your favourite spot, Philippa?
I'd probably say, because I came to this country when I was 17, and my first job was up at the Hellfire Caves up there at West Windham.
Yeah.
So I have a soft spot for the Hellfire Caves.
Yeah, I can remember what that is.
And the 12 men who sat at the ball at the top, no doubt too.
Can I tell you my favourite? My favourite's the Rebellion Brewery.
Yes.
We know about that. We keep talking to you
plugging them. Still waiting for a freebie.
Can I just come in on that one? Just it's a slightly side issue, but that particular brewery is where the Chamber of Commerce, Marlow Chamber of Commerce, which I know you're very much associated with, Philippa, is trying to extend for new visitors. And they're doing a free evening of beer next week. I'm not going to tell you which night. And fish and chips as well, to try and expand into the Marlow bottom area. I mean, it just brings me on to this sort of thought about networking, and obviously networking is very much part of your agency's work. And you work closely, do you, with the Chambers of Commerce?
Yes, we do. We work, Buckinghamshire Business works very closely with all the business representative organisations. So that includes the Institute of Directors, the Federation of Small Businesses, the Chambers. All these organisations, we all work together, and we should all all be operating in the best interests of businesses, and networking, businesses coming out and talking to each other, learning about issues that are common across all. The magic that happens in a room when you get businesses talking together, I wish I could bottle it. You know, the business that's done, the turnover that's generated, the problems that get solved just by talking to somebody else who's trying to run a business. Amazing.
That's because running a business on your own is quite a lonely, it's a stressful, it's trying to find the answers to yourself. And when you go to a meeting like that, and you talk about it, especially if you're able to open up, because a lot of people, I heard of a consultant who was working for an organisation, and he was going to visit these business people to help them, small businesses, and he discovered one of them without a business. And he was astonished, and he went back and he said, well, I was only visiting you a month ago, asking you how could I help you and what could we offer you. And he was too embarrassed to talk about the fact that his business was in such dire straits, and it went under purely for the fact of being able to open up and say, look, I'm having a problem, can somebody help me? And there'll always be somebody in the room, I think, that will have experience and advice to help.
Definitely. And as business leaders, it is a lonely place to be. Your suppliers, you will always be trying to put your best foot forward. Your staff, you'll be putting your best foot forward. But in reality, you're a human being and you don't know what you don't know. And there are times when sitting in a room with another business where you can just chat over what your issues are in a safe environment, there's huge benefits. So whether it's with the Chamber or Buckinghamshire Business First or the IOD, these are all places where you get support.
So how does it work when you've got, when you look up and down the high street, there's multinationals like Starbucks and Costa Coffee and Waitrose and Sainsbury's and Marks and Spencer's, and then you've got the individual shops, because somebody who's running a multinational has a particular role, but somebody who's actually running their own shop is putting their hand in their pocket and has to go to the bank every month and make sure that everything is going to be there to pay the bills.
Yeah, and that, for us, the difference between those very large organisations and the businesses that we perhaps support, they're SMEs, the businesses we support.
SMEs are?
SMEs. So they are organisations who have 250 employees or less.
So small and
medium-sized enterprises.
Okay.
And in Buckinghamshire, we have a very, very micro economy. So in Buckinghamshire, we've got 30,310 businesses. Of those, 82% have got 10 or less employees. And there are only 70 odd who have got 250 plus. We are the most micro economy next to Cumbria. So this is where all the small businesses are that Cameron wants to get growth from. They're sitting here in this county.
I've got a question for you, Philippa. How on earth do the small... look at it from a business perspective, one of the biggest costs you have is obviously staff, but the second biggest cost is going to be rent and rates. So when you look at someone like Starbucks, huge amounts of capital to come in and drive up and say, great, we can pay whatever rent you want. So they drive up the rental prices. They've got that capital behind them. How does a small business, or how can the organisation that you're trying to put together or develop, how can you support businesses to deal with that rent and those huge amounts of rates which have been driven up by the big corporates who have the money just to throw away?
Yeah, it's not just the big corporates that are driving up the prices. I mean, what we've also become aware of lately, the recent change in the planning, which said that you could get conversion of old commercial property to residential. In a place like Buckinghamshire, in a place like Marlow, where you've got very, very high residential returns for conversions, we're actually losing quite a lot of the small, easygoing commercial space. So small businesses are finding it difficult to get affordable office space.
So one way forward is by, and I'm a great advocate of this, is by streamlining or making the planning laws a little tighter.
Yeah, well, the current window of opportunity for this conversion, that ends in March 2016. It's unclear at the moment whether that will get rolled over and there'll be more of it. Now, what we're finding at Buckinghamshire Business First, we've opened up about 1,000 square feet in the middle of our offices, and we've said to small businesses, come on in, you can use our meeting rooms, you can use our hot desks, here's some space that you can use if you need it. So if you're based from home and you want a room that's fully equipped with presentation equipment, come in, have the room for 2 to 3 hours, and it's there for your use as a Buckinghamshire Business First member.
Okay.
That there is a definite shortage building up in the county.
May I ask, for the benefit of all the listeners, how much does it cost to become a member of Buckinghamshire First?
Zero.
Zero. Wow.
Membership
Bargain.
It's by virtue of your postcode, and what we're doing is we're going out there and trying to get funders from Europe and elsewhere that want to support businesses, but we ask nothing of the business member.
So if you're a business out there, come and join us now.
Exactly.
It's free.
Yeah, free, and there's so much benefit to it.
Well, thank you. I've just found a track from Charlotte Church, and I think in deference to her we should play it. But before I do that, I just wanted to announce that we have got 4 sets of 4 passes for this Friday evening's fun fair here in Marlow Town to give away. This is a competition. These passes will be given. Will give the wearer access to all the rides, age and height permitting, on Friday evening. And to win this competition, you have to go to marlowfm.co.uk/competition for more details. And we also have 1 pair of adult tickets for 1 family ticket up for grabs. Children under 12 go free for the Beacon Festival. This will be with a chance to winning weekend tickets to the festival. All you have to do is email your name into marlowfm.co.uk. And now we've got the wonderful, I'm sure, tax-paying Charlotte Church with...
She's amazing.
Show a Little
Big
Faith.
fan.
I love this. This is from the album Tissues and Issues. The lovely Charlotte Church with Show a Little Faith. And I noticed that at 3:30 we've got the 2 Tims, double Tim, coming in at 3:30 to do a Love Marlow show. And Tim is over in the corner, I see, having a nice cup of coffee and a bacon butty, and getting some sustenance into himself in preparation for the program. What is it that you guys like about Marlow? Is it Love Marlow? Philippa, what do you love about Marlow?
Just a quintessentially English market town. I think it's gorgeous.
And
Something
me?
specific, Malcolm?
No, hang on. No, wait a moment. The river, I'd have a little boat, and I just liked it one evening, in a summer's evening, just drifting down the current and finding a place to stop and have some water or whatever.
And Wisdom, you're in the suburbs of Marlow, in
Windsor and now the suburbs of Marlow.
Windsor,
Fantastic.
the suburbs of Marlow. You have that small visitor tourist attraction there, and it's not as good as Marlow, but
We have one or 2 famous visitors, residents, I should say as well.
Well, yes.
What do I love about Marlow?
Yes.
It's that combination. It's the beautiful combination of the river, sort of relatively unspoiled town, not too many big chains in the centre of town, and it's the ambience. I think it is wonderful. And I haven't mentioned the brewery, but yeah, Marlow, big fan of Marlow.
Yeah.
As well as Charlotte Church.
I love Marlow. I often say that if you had to computer design, do a cat's design of a town that has what you want in it, you would not find a better place than Marlow. It has the schools, the shops, the churches, the facilities, the nurseries, the river, the car parking, the shopping. It is just amazing. But the thing that's really amazing that I love about Marlow is the people. The people of Marlow. There's different groups of people. Some people coming from Marlow itself, born here, but most of us coming here from other places just to create a wonderful community. And as you were saying, Malcolm, something like the Marlow FM radio station, which has 90 people, volunteers working for it. That's real sweet
unique.
Community, isn't it?
Yeah, they're all volunteers. They all have a different speciality to bring forward. I mean, I'm just going to add to that. I sort of walking tour on Sunday before last with the Marlow Society, and I thought I knew a little bit about Marlow. I learned a hell of a lot more in 1.5 hours. For example, 20 yards from here is a building called the Stone House, which is now being converted in the last week or 2 into a sort of parlour for animals. And underneath that stone house is a chapel. unmarked, just lying there, no doubt used for storing something. But there's something every few yards of Marlow. Just stop and look. I mean, just opposite to us here, you've got things on the wall. You've got the Churchill tap, you've got plaques for various people. Just stop and look. It's absolutely amazing.
It's what we don't do. I actually did spend an afternoon because I wanted to find out the number of businesses. I got a pad and a flip chart and went out, and not a flip chart, a clipboard. I was astonished at how long it took me to count the number of businesses, not only on the ground floor, on the street floor, but also up on the other level. And then on top of that, you've got accommodation, so flats and apartments and that. It is an amazing town. We're very fortunate. Wisdom, we were going to talk about FIFA, and you've got a couple of minutes, so you really need to tie you down, because I really want to get your view on what's happening with FIFA. When we've got 5 minutes to go for close of program. So
wow. 2 minutes. Well, you know, you could spend a whole show on FIFA, and the reason I say this is for the following. FIFA seems, this whole thing that's unfolding now seems to be about corruption, about FIFA officials taking bribes. Then you start to dig a little deeper, and you can sort of talk about, well, should Qatar have got the World Cup? For lots of reasons. Should Russia? But look at it a different way. KPMG have been the auditors of FIFA for a number of years, and the corruption scandals are nothing new. We've known about them for decades, yet KPMG are always giving FIFA a clean bill of health. So you dig a little bit deeper, and this is what you find out. So it's not just KPMG who are involved with this, it's also the banks. So Barclays and HSBC have also been named in legal papers.
So somebody's been transferring the money around. It's been transferred through banks.
Well, clearly, but then it gets even deeper. Then you could look at, well, where are these banks that FIFA have been using to effectively wash out these bribes? And they're in UK tax havens.
UK tax havens?
Absolutely. UK tax havens like the Cayman Islands. Well, let's just run through the list here.
So a UK tax haven is in
British
the Cayman Islands?
British Virgin Islands, Cayman Islands, and the Turks and Caicos Islands. These seem to be places which are involved with taking this money on board, and so it becomes opaque. The British system and other systems can't get access to that. And then it gets even deeper, because when you look at the people who are responsible for governing FIFA and governing the regulations which look at the financials, they're ex-KPMG people, or they're from a small group of how to put it, experts, world-renowned people. Sorry, I'm not coming across too well. Bit of a time pressure on this one. But it sort of comes on to this chumocracy sort of situation, which is Steve Hilton, one of David Cameron's advisors, complained about. He was one of David Cameron's advisors in the last political administration. A chumocracy where the same group of people are going from one place to another in charge of the system and overseeing corruption and misdealings across the network.
Well, I guess it's like everything else. It actually is there underneath the surface, and it just comes. Eventually, it will work its way out. Whatever it is, whatever kind of corruption, whatever kind of lies, whatever kind of is trying to be concealed, eventually will make its way up to the top of the surface.
Yes and no, Dermot. I mean, I think that things do come to the surface, but then you find that another scandal or some other crisis is suddenly comes to the media, which then distracts your attention. So unless you actually keep pushing away at this, you actually, some of these things will be lost. People won't be held accountable.
Well, we've just come to the end of the programme. I see the wonderful Tims have just arrived to do some hot seating here for the Love Marlow programme, which starts in just a few moments. And I'd just like to thank Philippa very much for coming along this afternoon. It's been really great to have you, and I fully support and endorse your passion for bringing tourists into Marlow, the kind of tourists that we all want, that will park their cars perhaps outside in High Wycombe somewhere and get a bus in and really spend all the lovely money here in Marlow and enjoy what we have to offer. And Malcolm and Wisdom, thank you very much for co-presenting with me today.
It's a pleasure.
And look forward to seeing you again in 2 weeks' time.
Great to be on again.
And going to leave you with the wonderful sound of Cat Stevens with If I Laugh. Thank you very much for joining us. Look forward to seeing you again in 2 weeks' time. This is Dermot Fitzpatrick saying goodbye for now.